Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so what item number 3 is I believe there are 8 parcels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 parcels located just south of Central Park on several streets, Church Street, Good Pasture, Railroad, Spring, Miller, and McHenry, that are currently zoned I-1 light industrial. And so the purpose of I-1 light industrial is for light manufacturing. Anytime you're making something that wouldn't be considered a heavy use, that's what the purpose of this district is. Now, currently, none of these parcels that are zoned I-1 are being used for that purpose. There's no manufacturing, to my knowledge, on these 9 parcels. And after speaking with Christian and the mayor, I think that it is a good idea to rezone these parcels C2 and put them into the central business district. There are things that can be done in C2 that cannot be done in I-1, and just being honest, I don't feel like that this is an area where industry would locate. The lot sizes aren't particularly large, and also these are minor streets, and we typically would not want industry locating in off of a minor city street. And so 3 of these parcels are owned by the city, including the parcel that is south of Railroad Street that is not identified. And then the other 6 parcels are owned by the folks that you see there. There is one error. The eastern property located by or owned by, or that says it's owned by James A. Holman, located on Goodpasture Street, that is actually owned, I believe, by Bobby Hurt. That is what the tax records show. Now, that may be different, but that is who owns that currently. It was just an error on our part with the printing. And so we're not looking for a recommendation tonight. What I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is I'd like to take questions, see if you all have any issues or concerns about this potential rezoning, and then if you feel like it's something that we should proceed with, then Christian and I will send out letters to all of the property owners that would be potentially rezoned, and then we would go from there and potentially make a recommendation at a future planning commission meeting.
I think it's a good idea.
So in the C2 Central Business District, any retail or wholesale business is a permitted use. And even manufacturing incidental to the retail business is allowed there too. So in the instance of, anything that would have to make something on site and sell it would be allowed as long as the commercial aspect of it is allowed. Okay? And then I guess the biggest thing, residential uses are permitted upon appeal in the C2 area. And so if you want to just go to the flip side of that, what's not allowed in I-1 is residential uses and commercial uses are not allowed in I-1. So, I mean, that there eliminates a lot of things that could potentially locate in that area. So that's the big reason why Christian and the mayor and myself think that this would be a good.
So Twin Lakes would follow under that? Twin Lakes all?
Well, I'm not sure. Their property is zoned industrial. It's zoned I-1 right now currently. And obviously all of the uses that are going on now that exist legally are what's called grandfathered in. It won't,
Okay.
it won't change anything that they're doing right now. But yeah, again, I'm not looking for a recommendation to the board tonight or anything like that. I just simply want to take questions or concerns, and that way we can send out the notices to the property owners, and if they have concerns, they can come in. I feel like that it is a win for all of these property owners if we could do that. It enhances or expands the amount of uses, in my opinion, that could be done in that area, because, as I said earlier, it's not really attractive to industry just due to the fact of the sizes of the streets that are down there.
You got anything wrong?
How much does the city already own?
So if you look at your handout there, they own the big parking lot where the shirt factory used to be that says Downtown Revitalization Committee of City. And then they also own the property just to the north of it that says Downtown Revitalization Committee. And then they own the property to the south of it across Railroad Street, there on the bottom, which is not printed, but they own that's there in the curve.
They own that property across the,
It's shaded purple, yes.
they own that property across from the American Legion and by the,
Twin Lakes Telephone there?
no, the city owns it.
Okay.
Right across from the American Legion.
Yeah, the Twin Lakes,
Twin
building
Lakes.
is a lot right there.
Twin Lakes has had it.
The old Twin Lakes, where their office is, where their office used to be,
It's owned by Twin Lakes.
city.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Oh, so Twin Lakes doesn't own that building?
They gave it to the city.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that we would, so they own actually 4 parcels
We
then.
actually have, there's actually, something going in that building. So it's it's for battered women, so we can't make any profit on it. So these folks are coming in.
That's owned by the city now?
Well, the reason I said it is because I was told that was public parking.
No,
Across
that's
from the
Twin Lakes.
American Legion building.
Oh, no, she's talking about,
That's not up for consideration then.
we're talking about, I believe that is gonna be on the, where's Church?
It's Church Street right there, it's their church.
So come on up Church, yeah, that's in C2 already.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the old Twin Lakes telephone was in Twin Lakes.
Okay.
Is in C2 already.
It's above industry.
I
Yeah.
believe A.B.'s Hellman sold that building on the corner there, Tom,
Okay.
I believe.
That's just what's on the tax records, that's just what we pulled off. So we'll need to update that and,
Yeah, see if you would, but I
Yeah.
think A.B. told me they sold.
Okay.
Who's that building?
A.B., I think he sold the building there on the corner.
Church and Evans, the lot that's there, the real small lot on the corner of Church and
On the
Evans.
corner there, Christian. He told me they sold it. And check with him, make sure. To the dog groomers, or something like that, I think, yeah.
And see, that's another example, that would not be allowed currently.
And in the building that Bob Hurt owns, he has that building for sale. And recently, in the last couple of weeks, I've got a couple of different calls of, interested in that property and wondering what they can do with it. Well, part of that building, the Holman building, a small portion of that is in industrial now, and part of that building is in the C2 zone. I don't know how that happened, but
Yeah,
it is.
Well, let's take a look at that Bob Hurt lot, the one that's far east. It says James Holman on it, but it's actually the Bob Hurt lot, and it's on South Goodpasture Street. That might be a 1/4 of an acre lot there, and I'm not measured it or anything, maybe a 1/2 acre at best, but you're not gonna get an industry to locate on a half an acre lot,
did you know at one time, Tommy, we had a 4-lane bowling alley there?
Not right there, no sir,
Didn't know that.
before my time.
Does anybody, do you remember, Robert? None of these youngins don't understand it, but there was a 4-lane, because I set pins there for 7 cents a game. Setting pins. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I was just using that lot as an example. Mr. Hurt is probably, when we contact him about this, I'm sure that he will be
He will be.
in favor of this.
Will they be able to do more with the property than they can?
That's correct.
Do anything.
Yeah.
More sellable.
They can't do anything but help the property owners.
In my opinion.
Now, there is, and I know that Mr. Campbell, had bought I believe has bought those storage.
The Michael Stewart property.
So, was his intention to build more on there? I mean,
I'd hate to speak of that without seeing a site plan on something, you know, I don't know.
I mean, I think he had actually came, now, you know, this is just throwing this around, but if we did change that, so storage is out. So would that eliminate him?
No, he's protected by state law on that. You can expand non-conforming commercial and industrial uses as long as you're within the building setback lines. Plus, with C2, you have a much larger lot potential because if we're looking at setbacks in industrial, you're looking at 40 foot setbacks. And then in C2, there are no setbacks. So, I mean, you could potentially go to the property line if you needed to.
Yeah, that would gain a lot of property, that would gain a lot of.
Sure.
Are we okay, Tommy, on everything there, or you got something else?
No, I have nothing else. I'm simply answering questions at this point to see
Christian,
how you feel.
anything else on discussion?
You know, I don't think, I mean, as long as you guys, are on the same page with it, you know, I'm all for it myself. I don't ever believe that industrial will be in that area. I think C2 would promote, you know, building that end of town up a little bit. You know, we need a little bit more to come on.
And to be honest, I don't know that we want industry that close to our downtown businesses.
And the nice park.
Correct. Yes,
Build a road for them. Delivery trucks couldn't get in there, the big ones couldn't.
that's correct also. And, I mean, we don't need a motion or anything, but basically what I'm going to do is, if there's no opposition, I will say, then Christian and I will send out letters to the adjoining property owners, or not the adjoining property owners, but the property owners that are affected. And then obviously, they'll come, if they want, at the next planning commission meeting, give us their concerns, or if they're in favor of it. And then we'll have to have a public hearing on this at the council level. So everyone will get to, that wishes to, will get to express their opinion on it one way or the other. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't see any adjoining property owner, because a lot of these are R2. You don't want industry locating next to your home. Or most people would not want. I don't want to speak in absolutes, but most people wouldn't want an industry located next to their home.
I believe all on this committee, Matilda, I know you expressed yourself, you feel good about it.
I do.
Robert?
I feel good about it. Certainly seems reasonable, yeah.
Okay, same here.
And again, this does not lock you in to a vote of any kind. It's just saying you would like to proceed with the information gathering portion of
I
this.
have no objection to what's going on.
So would it be reasonable for me to put, it was the consensus of the planning commission to proceed with this, proceed with the information gathering portion of the proposed rezoning?
That'll be fine, Tom.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 4. Discussion regarding amending the parking requirements of the Livingston zoning code. I think you told me, Tommy, this is something you maybe taken from Cookville.
Christian has gathered this comparison that we have, and I'll give just a little bit of background for it.
Okay.
In the past, the Board of Zoning Appeals have granted variances to site plans that have been presented under the retail business or personal service establishment section of required parking spaces per use in the zoning ordinance. Currently, a retail business is supposed to have one parking space per 50 square feet of customer service area, plus one space for every 3 employees.
Where are you at in that?
That would be page 9 in the zoning ordinance. Make sure you don't have your subdivision regulations.
Okay.
Yeah, so 11-203-71, page 9.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It may not be 9 in yours, but it's 9 in
It
mine.
should be 0 in the, number, in the letter chart on the.
Oh. Yeah, letter O.
Parking spaces are there.
Right there. Retail businesses. And this is a statute that has been in place since the zoning ordinance was adopted, to my knowledge. So, you know, every now and then you need to update your ordinance to kind of comply with what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And so, and just for an example, when the county services building was submitted to us a couple of years ago, according to this, it needed something around 130 parking spaces. You know, and we all felt like that was just too much, and the Board of Zoning Appeals agreed with us that it was too much. So it's, and even the one space, and plus one space per 3 employees, and we didn't even take that into consideration, you know. So what we would like to do is just make it one parking space for every 200 square feet of customer service area.
So besides the obvious overkill, I just pulled up, the zoning, the 2015 zoning regulations, and I pulled up a copy of, Cookville City's, that should be highlighted in orange on the page number 11, and the front page is the zoning ordinance, which is, I mean, it's the standard zoning. I looked at several that went even further, that went up to 250, 300, you know, in Asheville, places in that area. So I feel like, in my opinion, 200 would be what we need to be looking at. Unless y'all decided you wanted to even up the square footage.
Well, if you look at those new offices there, each one of them probably got 3 employees in each one of them. All the offices in there, there's at least 3. Like Tommy said, we didn't consider that to start with.
Well, because-
Actually, whenever we wound up there, we wound up with 2 extra parking spots, or 3 extra parking spots than the plan required when we got done with it. I think we wound up with 78 or 79 parking spots as opposed to 75. So.
But the original requirement was well over 100 spaces. And, you know, I mean, I drive by there almost every day, and I mean, there's plenty of parking in that building, you know, or you know, at the county services building. So, this is one that we can study on if we want to, but I think I would feel comfortable making the recommendation to the board to go from 50 to 200, but that's up to you guys.
Retail business is the only one we are considering.
At this time, yes, that's one, because that's the one that, you know, when we see a site plan, most of the time it is for a retail business.
It seemed like we had one with the lawyer one time, and it had like this unbelievable how many parking spaces it had to have. It was
Well,
unbelievable.
that would fall under office, professional, or public buildings, and it's one space per 150.
Oh,
We might want to go ahead and up that to 200 as well.
I remember, because we had did that, and, you know, how many people are you gonna have in a lawyer's office at one time? You're not gonna have 40 people in there at one time.
Yeah, I mean, the zone code and, you know, Cook will, rounded in that 200 area, but I'm telling you, the more you look and, you know, if you just Google, other towns, zoning ordinances about their parking, the average was around 250, you know, feet, per space, up to 350. So that's why, you know, I didn't want to get real carried away, but, you know, we want to be realistic and give these people a chance to build on their lots. So.
Well, and I feel like that we could really do an evaluation of the whole thing, because we have several that are based on number of employees, and I don't think that's a good metric to base the parking spaces on, because the number of employees is not determined by, you know, what type of business you had. It's determined on how busy you are, basically. And so I like making those requirements based on either occupancy or square footage, which is what we're considering here tonight, is the square, you know, the square footage for each individual business.
Okay, so what'd you say that law office fell under?
Office, professional, or public buildings, which is J.
Okay. Well, it's 150 square feet, that's not that much, though, either.
If we change this one to 200, it would encourage more, and if someone came to us and said, hey, we need 250 or 225, it would be an easier step to give them a variance.
Yes, sir. I would think so. If I were on the BZA, I would think so.
You know, a lot of times this is, you know, some of these things are determined by lot size where, you know, you don't have the lot size, but, you know, you guys looking at it as a whole saying, well, you know, they're selling, you know, live bait, you know, I mean, you know, so maybe we could adjust a little bit more, you know, about thinking of what they're doing in their business as opposed to just letting it roll.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you take a look at retail business, that can be everything from a bookstore to a McDonald's, and you know, they're measured the same, which, you know, as we'll know, you know, a bookstore is probably not going to need as many parking spots as a McDonald's does, or a big box, you know, a big chain restaurant of some sort. But we can study it, or we can, you know, make a recommendation.
I feel like we need to go ahead and move on it, Tommy. The rest of the committee is good. JJ, you good?
How many parking spaces per square foot?
One space for 200 square feet. And what I think we should do right here, and Christian, you tell me if you're all right with it. If we want to make a recommendation, let's just do the retail business and personal service, and then we can come back and look at the rest, because that's the urgency that we're seeing is the retail business aspect of it. Yes. So if we wanted to do that, what it would be a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to amend Section 11-203-71, number O, from 50 square feet to 200 square feet, something like that.
I think we're good, Tommy.
Okay.
The committee here, we're good on it. So I think you need to go ahead and proceed with that.
Well, if I get a motion
You want
and a
motion?
second and action from the committee, I'll be happy to forward that on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Tilda Second.
Second.
Robert, all for, let me know, say aye. Motion carries, Tommy.
Thank you,
I
Mr. Chairman.
would like for us to consider,
I think we need to look at the whole thing, just to be honest with you.
I agree.
And that's something that Christian and I can be looking at. Again, I don't like something based on the number of employees because that fluctuates. Square footage and occupancy usually don't. They usually stay the same. So, just for example, when a business is starting out, they could say, well, we're only going to have 5 employees. And so they only build in that many parking spaces for that. But if they grow or if they have plans for expansion, they've made their parking based upon 5 employees. And so, if they lose employees, do they lose parking spots? But that would be something that Christian and I can look into, and we'll do that going forward.
All right. Other business if necessary. Do we have anything else?
I don't, as long as Christian doesn't.
Okay. Christian, do you have
I
anything?
don't have anything else.